and welcome to this edition of the Time with Hime podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Cordes, joined by Superintendent Hime and a special guest.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be back.
Yes.
This time of year creates havoc with schedules sometimes, and we don't get our podcast in every week like we want to. But this week, we were able to get it in, but luckily, we're honored to have the Secretary of Education for the state of Oklahoma, Miss Nellie Sanders, visit us. And so we're very excited about her, and we'll get to her and let her talk in a minute, but let's just cover a couple things first, and then we'll bring her on, and we'll let her tell us what she's seen today and her thoughts about education.
Absolutely. And so the reason we were not here the last few weeks is we had some big awards and some conferences, and let's start off first with one of the biggest ones that we've had.
It's a national award that our school board won. And so you submit awards for innovation. And so we submitted what we do at the Life Ready Center with stories, interviews from students, and pictures to the National School Board Association. And they felt like we had the best innovative program out there for the year for schools 5 to 20,000 students, which was pretty awesome. We were the winner, which is, there's silver awards and there's others, but we're the Magno Award. And winning that Magno Award, our schools can get a $5,000 check. Plus, we were featured with a banquet at the conference. Miss Nyworth, one of our board members, got to walk up on stage and get the award in front of 5,000 people. And so big shout out to our Board of Education because, from the individual side, we've had numerous people, including Miss Cordes, who's the District 13 Central Office Administrator of the Year, yes. But we've had a lot of people. It's easy when I'm on here to talk about some of the awards I've been lucky enough to win as far as what I consider district awards are. But we've had other people win awards in the last few years. But it's great when our board wins one. So we're very excited about the Magno Award. So the NSBA, it's a national award. We think it's the first Magno Award that anyone in the state of Oklahoma won.
It is. We've checked back. So we were really, really thankful for that.
So the one and only.
That's it. And
big job. Shout out to the Board of Education.
We've had a lot of other successes in our school level. MacArthur High School just won their
third straight ROT. That's amazing because it's all different kids. You talk to him. He's a freshman. He's even got, I think, an 8th grader on this year's team. So that's amazing. Their third straight state championship. So big shout out to Redfern and his group. That's just amazing. 3-time state champions.
And then even beyond that, we had all of our secondary. We had most of them go out to the Oklahoma Scholastic Media Day. And just to see that collaboration between our middle school and high school students and then the growth that they're getting, they had a great, phenomenal day. So we were excited to see that. And then another reminder, academic teams. You'll see them if you're not following our social media, please do, because lots of great successes. So congratulations to our academic teams. It's
just so much going on this time of the year. And first and foremost, as parents, make sure you're logging on and seeing when state testing is, especially like the ACT, because some of the state testing, you're like, what does that ever do for me? I never see it because it's late. The ACT is a result that's used for scholarship, college entrances, and various other programs. So make sure your child is ready if they're taking the ACT test to do their best, because we'd like for all of our students to perform their best, because we try to use that data to drive our education and what we look at and find areas we need to get better at so that we can improve the educational opportunities for all of our students.
Yes, sir. And then another friendly reminder before we speak with Mrs. Sanders about the virtual day on Friday.
Oh, yeah, Friday's a virtual day.
Yes, and we've got PD scheduled.
Yes.
So.
And I think people sometimes think, well, it's a virtual day, they just did it. We use our virtual days very strategically for professional development. The state of Oklahoma 2 or 3 years ago came up with the letters training or the science of reading. And they challenged school districts for every teacher to get letters trained. Well, there's like 10 or 15 PD days involved in that. And if we do that on those training days, if we get subs, we don't have enough subs to cover. So we use our virtual days strategically for those days so our teachers can do that, but our students can still continue to be familiar with logging on in case things happen. And we're not meaning like a pandemic, but like we had this year, Lawton High's water line busted. So we had 3 weeks. We had to go virtual at Lawton High because they couldn't go to school. So hopefully this continues to get us ready for that. And also, that Friday is also strategic because if I'm not mistaken, it's a track meet day. It's a lot of state tournaments. It's always a day very difficult in the high school because there's a lot going on that this coming Friday at the high school. So it works out really good for us to have that as a virtual Professional Development Day.
And I think just now until the end of the year, May will be here before we know it. So we've got one more week of April and then a couple more weeks before graduation. So it's coming, you guys.
Yeah, follow on social media. Make sure you're keeping up with everything. Awards assemblies. Please check with those. I know my children have all graduated, but they never tell you anything when they're teenagers. You've got to go find it yourself or call the school because teenagers think everything's a secret.
Well, and that's a great plug into our rooms. If you don't have our rooms yet, make sure you do that because that's on our LPS app and keeps you informed with the teachers.
It does. It's really important, and we're really working hard. And if things are happening, they're not on there, let us know. Because I had that conversation the other day with a parent. They said, well, we didn't know what time something was happening, so we missed it. And I said, well, was it on the social media? And they said, well, no. So they wanted to talk, but their kid didn't tell them. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to have that conversation. We as adults got to do our job. We do count on the kids to tell their parents. That's part of growing up, is being responsible and learning to inform the people around you of what's going on. But we as adults also work really hard to make sure we're putting it out there for our parents to find that information.
Yes, sir. And now to the big talk. You've had a busy day already.
Secretary of Education for our governor, and she's got to travel around. And so we'll turn it over here. She can tell us what she's seen today, and she can also share with us what she sees education is, and just we can have a conversation.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited. This has been such a fun day. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, talk about where we started this morning. You started at the LRC, and then we went to Freedom.
I'm horrible with all the names and remembering exactly where we were, so you're going to have to help ground the locations. But the first thing that I got to see was the incredible art and the art studio. Where were we? The name of the area?
Life Ready Center here.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Stephen Scott Smith, I believe is his, he's called Scott, but it's Stephen Scott Smith, yes.
He really, just to see the explosion of creativity right when you walk in, that was such a welcome. And I felt just, because that's really something that I value so much, of the creative and the incredible gift it is to be able to teach students how to unlock and develop that creativity. That was really exciting. And the studio itself, you could tell lots of action is happening in there. So that was...
Yeah, lots of activity in there.
It was good. I loved it. It was so good. So I had that great opportunity. And then where did we head over next?
Freedom Elementary.
To Freedom Elementary. And I got to listen to a video about students learning about the differences in other thinkers. Primarily those who live with autism. So that was really amazing to watch a video that was educational about the understanding of the way they think and the way that they thrive. And then that transitioned into a STEM project, which I got to work with Ashley and Ashlyn, and we had the best time talking. Both of these amazing young women were making, I guess, a bubble machine. So it was something that they were starting to develop and build. So I think I distracted them a little bit too much, though, because they didn't get the
They had a great time. They had a great time.
That was
really
so
did.
fun.
Because they're doing the circle.
Yes.
At Freedom today, we'll already be done, but they're doing the circle, and they're going to all blow bubbles in honor, in recognition of autism.
They may not be able to make their bubble unless they got it done after I left. But it was so fun talking to them. One of the ladies is from Germany, and the other Georgia, and just to really understand that experience for them and what it's like to come to a new school. But they love this. They love their experience here. And it was so fun to talk about that and to understand that as well. And they love STEM. That was something else they really talked about. They both, one was science that they loved in reading, and the other was STEM. And so I think that you see a child being electrified when you give them an opportunity to try to build something that is something they enjoy learning. So then we walked over to another class, and they were making these really amazing videos, and they were like public service announcements, but they were taking the video in their own video, and they were developing a movie, like a PSA.
Stop motion.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not very good with the detailed names of anything, but
either.
I'm never going to get them right.
That's what it was, the stop motion?
It was so cool.
I learned something.
Legos and...
It was so fun. So I was able to really learn. I actually sent my son a text and was like, we have to do this later. It's so fun because my son loves that type of stuff as well. But it was really amazing to listen to the stories of some of the students, also the creativity and the way that they wanted to explain how important it is that people get to learn about. This particular one was about electric cars versus being, they were saying that you can explode if you use gasoline versus the electric. So it was really fun just listening to them talk about that and then make it. And then, of course, we started talking about their parents' service to our country and what it was like to be new to this community. Again, another student sharing this. And this young man had, he really was beautiful in the way he articulated his 5th grade. And he was talking about how his dad had been blown up before he was born, and talking about how that changed their family. And, just, you guys really deal with a lot more than probably most people ever get to see in a community. But I think that that's part of the fiber that really brings you together. And I thought that was something I immediately picked up, but I was also really, the honesty that these young students and how vulnerable they want me to hear about this and share it with me and what that journey has been. But the number one thing they felt, every one of them, these young students, is that they really felt like this was the best school, and they loved the education that you guys are giving them, and they really, really, you can see them just thriving.
What's amazing is when you see that, and we talk about teachers and what they teach, and the old saying, teachers are really heroes without capes. But to think that they're just teaching state standards is kind of a joke, because there's a lot more going on at Freedom Elementary than although they're doing a great job with the standards, and we need our state standards, but that doesn't limit the education that they're providing in the opportunities that are created, because it is amazing. When you and I walked in, Miss Breeze was telling us about a class where they had lost 15 and gained 15 in the same year, one class. So students are moving in and out so many times, and just the tenacity and the social learning that they have to have for those students to come in and out is so important for our teachers. And the teachers at Lawton Public Schools all the way across the board are just the best. I'm just telling you. You don't have the success we're having with some of the things we do without having the best teachers. We know that, but I'm so glad you got to see that at Freedom.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I want to mention this one thing about one teacher, because I did have the most amazing, which teacher was it? She was amazing. I was talking to her. She'd been with you guys for 11 years, and this was a class that she'd been teaching for a long time. But the one thing that we talked about was the reward that she was getting back, and how much it hurts her to lose students that come and they go. But the emotion, it made me actually tear up, and she was tearing up in this quick little moment. But she had a student that she finally had the benefit of them seeing them as a referee to their student, and just, the service that teachers give to our state and to our children. I don't think that there will ever be a way for a teacher to ever really understand the magnitude and the impact that they make on a child's life. And he was thanking her and appreciative and so excited to see her, but to see her heart just feel that, I was so glad I got to experience that too.
Man, then next week got to go talk to the seniors. They've already graduated. They haven't got to walk across the stage yet. But
they're out.
They're out. They've checked out. But they were still an interesting group.
Yeah. Oh, they were so great. I just love the interaction. They really love you too.
I think they love that I get them out of class every day.
They thanked you for a lot of the things that you do.
For the cap and gown, or the caps, that we're going to do graduation, and then the semester test exemption.
Yes.
So yeah.
They do like the ideal, and for those students that are coming, we talk about this a lot, but one of my ultimate goals has always been create opportunities and destroy roadblocks. That's what we should be doing for our kids. No questions asked, we should create opportunities, but we got to be careful that my 60-year-old opportunities are not the same as their 18-year-old opportunities. So we've got to get more interaction with them and see what they consider opportunities and because there is in this life, when you get to be my age and you've done it, there is making money, but there is also being happy. And most people, when they look back, they're more concerned about that they love their job, they love what they got to do, they love their passion more so than they are rewarded by the money they made. So we got to make sure we get them trained where they can do things that they enjoy and are passionate about. But they were awesome.
And they really, I love the fact we got great feedback from them about their concern about going into debt after college. Yep. And that's something that we really need to look at. And I love hearing that from them, to talk about what that really meant for them. And, are their degrees going to be degrees that they will be able to use one day? And those are things that we need to hear this generation tell us about? Because didn't you feel that was something that?
Yes, very important. I think that's one reason why we really strive to have free college here, is to try to get our students a year or two or as many hours as they can, because that's just that much, that's that much less debt that they accumulate, and they walk across, when they walk across their college stage or get their job, that they don't have debt. So hopefully we can do that, more of that statewide, get those careers. And
you gave them a lot of pathways. That was very obvious today too.
Yeah.
I felt like don't you think that they?
Yeah, they can feel it, and sometimes that's you don't feel it when you come in and say, this is what we're trying to do. You think you're not where you want to be, then you have those meetings. You're like, wait a minute, they are getting it. It is getting to the seniors. So that's a big shout out to our counselors and principals and things, because it's easy for, Glenn's going to laugh and tell her she can't laugh, but everybody knows I have these great big ideas, and I move them around and they spin in my head.
I get you.
Yeah, they spin in my head real fast, and I can throw them out there what I want, but it takes a lot of people to carry those out and make them work, and also tweak them and make them where they really will work, instead of just exactly what I said. So there's a lot of brainstorming and input that goes into those. And so it's a big shout out to all the people that, the number of concurrent hours we've got for next year and going on right now, and the number of kids taking those classes in here and some of those things. So it's just fun talking to those kids.
It was, and I had two amazing young women come up to me afterwards. One has a brother who is younger. He's in the special education program, and she was really concerned about the pathway for him.
Yes.
What does that look like, and how can we shake this up a little bit? So it really is something that we can start as a state, prioritizing his value and unlocking in him his true potential. And she felt like she wanted to actually be a part of helping to solve that. And what a dream to hear a student come to me and say, can we work on this? I gave her my email. I hope that she reaches out to me. Whichever one I need to, please reach out. Her grandmother was a superintendent in New York, has built curriculum around those who have learning differences. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the beauty of a system you've given a great freedom for expression here, so that she felt confident to come over and tell me this is something she wanted to do.
And that's a Speedway today at 2:00. Mm-hmm. The McMahon Foundation is donating some money to Lawton Public Schools for the development of our transition program. Yeah. So we're going to build out the east side of where New Horizons is, and we're going to remodel that and make it for our transition students to do some of the things she talked about. But we know we need to improve upon that. And then last, we got to go see a TAP program.
It was so cool.
Watching kids weld.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought a couple times I wasn't sure if I had a spark on my hair. I didn't feel like I was equipped, but it's okay. It didn't even matter. And I have to say, the passion. I mean, that's you. Yes, there's lots of electricity flying all over the air, but the electricity within these students was very, very clear. They really have found their space, and they're thriving. And that's a dream for any parent. All you want to see is your child know that they love something. And I actually, Jacob, I got to visit with him a lot. He said he's going to be going into welding. And he had no idea that this is something he loved. He also, like me, and I don't know, we learn differently. I do as well. I had dyslexia. And so he talked about how it was such a blessing for him to have a program like this, because he knew what he wanted to do.
And so that's our ultimate goal.
It is.
So we have a deal here, and we haven't talked about this, but when everybody walks across the stage, we want to be one of 3 E's: enrolled, enlisted, or employed. And when we say employed, we want them to be gainfully employed. But we also want them all to have that passion. We want them to find their niche, what they love to do, so that if they are employed, it's not a job, it's a career. It's something they want to do on an everyday basis. So you know how excited we are you came today. Thank you so much.
I would say that you have a lot of ingenuity that you have revealed in your students. And to me, that is the number one thing we can do for a child, is help them to discover that, so they can keep lifelong learning to the effect. And you guys, I loved this. I'm so glad it's not over yet.
You know how great it is to get a job and have all these great people working for you?
Yeah.
You just don't know. You don't know how lucky I am. I am so lucky. I have all these great people that do this for the kids, and how lucky we are. So, you know what? We'll have you back again.
I would love that.
And we're so glad you joined us today. And we know you'll take some of this back to the state, and you're going to get us a whole bunch of money so we can.
Well,
Go, Fred!
I will say one last thing. I know that we talk a lot about teacher crisis, but you hit a really important part. I want to say before we leave, I will say that I can tell your teachers and your leadership love what they do.
Well,
Hey, there's the sign.
there's the sign. Must be noon.
I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we hear it here. So as we end with our nice little warning, it's time to move on to our next. We have another few more hours of tours and whatnot. So I'm give them our email and whatnot.
Yeah, so if you have questions, lawtonps.org is our webpage. Get on there and find your students' information. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you have questions or comments, info, email info@lawtonps.org. So thank you for tuning in.
Yes, Ms. Sanders, thank you again.
Thank you so much for joining us.
For having me. Thank you.
All right, you guys. And as the signal says, it's time to go.
Till next week.
Until next week. Be well, stay safe, and make positive impacts. Have a great week.